We're Robin and Steve. In the last episode, we were given a fish and were then smashed by a storm. This episode starts and finishes with a fish. When we left off, we were in Bathurst Harbour and we just received a fish from the neighbours.
Oh, how big is it?
Let's put it next to your head.
Oh, I don't want it next to my head. I just feel like
Bluefin tuna from the neighbours. After eating this delicious fish, we were smashed by a storm and our previously reliable anchor dragged a couple of times, meaning that we had to reset it in the middle of the night. Not fun. So Steve installed the new Mantis anchor and tidied up the cockpit locker. The weather forecast was looking good, so it was time to start making our way out of Port Davey. Here's a high-tech reenactment. It cost less than $3.7 million. Part of the southwest walking track involves ferrying each other across in the boats, but all the boats are on one side, so we're not quite sure how that works. We stopped by this waterfall again to fill our tanks with tannin-rich water and to get ourselves and our clothes clean. Once some pre-passage maintenance was done, we could relax. And we had Brambles Cove completely to ourselves. We had a good sunset feast in preparation for the journey ahead. At first light, we set off, keeping a careful eye out for a lot of hidden rocks in these unsurveyed waters. This time the wind was behind us. So great to not have to tack. Once back out at sea, Steve emptied the compost bucket, which we couldn't do in the marine reserve. With both wind and huge swells behind us, we did some serious speed. Our little boat surfed down big swells at over 13 knots. Too fast for me. It wasn't that rough the whole time. Once out of Port Davey, we headed down under the Southwest Cape, all the way under the bottom of Tasmania, past South Cape and Southeast Cape eventually. These islands are on the way to South Cape. It's important to keep our strength up. Pistachios are our snack of choice. Most of the time, we're just staring out at vast expanses of water. So if anything unusual happens, we're keen to point it out.
Jellyfish, seaweed, albatross, plastic, dolphin, plastic, seal. Oh no, wait, could be a log. Penguin, seaweed, log. Oh no, wait, it's a seal. Whale.
It was an exhausting, fast-paced trip to Recherche Bay. But we couldn't rest once we'd anchored. We had to deal with the torch that kept going. Beep!
She's fucked.
Do tell.
Broken capacitor. Look, that's the inside of the capacitor there. That's the can that goes over it. Charging capacitor, probably.
What about the thing that goes beep?
Yeah, that's that.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
The torch that no longer goes beep. Finally, we could get some sleep and woke up to a beautiful, calm morning. This is one of Steve's favourite birds, the sea eagle. But to save time, he calls them seagull, not to be confused with seagull when bird watching, because saying sea eagle takes far too long. We'd gotten to know which animals hung around in this area. This was a local seal. And this was the local grey heron. We'd become so local that squid were congregating around our anchor chain. We were nearly out of fresh food, so it was time to move on. We were escorted by dolphins all the way to Adventure Bay. This pod were our first escorts. Steve prefers spearfishing, but given our low fresh food supplies, he thought he'd try his luck, throwing the lure in, and as soon as it was in, the battle was on. Thank you, southern bluefin tuna. You fed us for a long time. The next pod of dolphins stepped in to escort us the rest of the way. There are stunning views of cliffs all the way around Bruny Island, and to top it off, my favourite, Fluted Cape. We anchored close to Adventure Bay shops to get groceries and diesel. We didn't realise how dumpy the waves were, so after drying off our groceries, Steve went back to pick up jerry cans of diesel and brave the waves on the way back in. Although it was a bit dicey, Steve and the jerry cans made it back safely. Like I said earlier, this episode starts and finishes with a fish. Thanks again, southern bluefin tuna. I'll leave you with more dolphins, because I don't get sick of them. Join us next time as we get a visit from an acrobatic family, explore the spectacular sights of the East Coast of Tasmania, and then get stopped in our tracks by a double storm.